Hello and welcome to the transcription explanation of this design. It's a tattoo intended to go along a forearm, so that's why it kind of tapers down like that. And I'm quite happy with the staggered big, medium, small main featured circles to really help get a natural flow and a good fit for that forearm shape. So let's go ahead and read this script. So first things first, you read the script starting at the bottom and you go counterclockwise, like a time traveler going back in time. And that's true for the words in a sentence as well as the letters in each individual word. So this is our first sentence circle, and we have our start marker here, indicating that this is the very start of the phrase. So we have our first word here and our first letter of our first word here. And if we zoom in on that, we can see quite clearly that it is a horseshoe shape. And that horseshoe shape is the very top row of this column above me, of this grid above me. So you see how there's different rows and then different columns. And at the very far side of that column, there's one line above it. And in that letter G space in the top row and last column, that means that it's going to be a horseshoe shape with one line, which is perfect because this is a horseshoe shape with one line sticking off of it. So then our next letter is this shallow divot. So rather than a horseshoe, it's more like somebody took a bite out of a cookie. So this shallow divot has 1, 2, 3 dots on it. And then there is this little guy. These little guys are all vowels, and vowels can either be by themselves, as shown at the kind of bottom of the grid above me, and an E is our base vowel, and an E is centered. So that means it's centered on the line of our word circle, or it's centered inside our consonant stem. So here's a G with an E centered inside it. Where A's are external, so they're outside of our word circle, including if they're attached on a consonant, they would still be outside the word circle, which there are no other examples of A's here, but here's an A outside of this word circle. And then that E is centered. Oh, I already did E's. I's are like E's, but have a line radiating inwards towards the middle of the word circle. So here's our word circle, and the I has a line going inwards. Similarly, here's a word circle, and the line of the I goes in. A U has a line going outward, so kind of opposite of the I, and I don't think there's any examples of U's in this. And then O's are internal. So unlike the E's, which are centered on a consonant, an O is on the line of the consonant. Or it's internal, so it's inside of our word circle, like this one in the word of. So, that's vowels. And vowels can either be by themselves or attached to different consonants. So let's go ahead and read our vowels here. So here's an E and there's an A. And then there's this shallow divot, just like the R, except it doesn't have any dots. So it's just the letter T. So it's important that these 3 dots, they line up with the E and are closer to this bigger shallow divot, making this an R and that one a T, with these 3 dots clearly a little bit closer to that one and then that one. So that's great. And then we have this word circle, and we have this full circle floating inside our word circle with 3 lines sticking off of it. So it's going to be in the 3-line column and in the second row. So that's an M. E is centered, and then the N has 1 line, so that's men. Here's our A. This is another R, shallow divot, 3 dots, and then a centered E, so that's the word R. This F is pretty sneaky because this thick line ends both here and here. And as I said before, lines count where they end on a letter stem. So that means they can count for multiple letters and even the same letter twice because it ends here and it ends here. So that's 1, 2 lines, and then a 3rd line here for this thin one. So 2 count for the thick one because it ends twice, and then the 3rd one is on the thin one. So that's an F. Here's the O we talked about. Another R, shallow divot with 3 dots. So look at all these different ways we can do R's. So that's the 3 dots on that R. Those are the 3 dots on this R. These are the 3 dots on that R. And then another G, horseshoe 1 line. E centered, and then a D is similar to the R with 3 dots and a divot, but it's a deep divot. It's the horseshoe instead of the bite taken out of the cookie. So F-O-R-G-E-D. I line going inwards, N 1 line, just like this N. And it's okay that stuff passes through letters. What matters is it ending on a letter. And then fire, we have 1, 2, 3 lines on this F, done relatively similarly with 1 line counting twice and then the 3rd line taken off. The I line going inwards, R, shallow divot with 3 dots, and then an E centered. And this is a period. It's on our sentence circle, which is this big one going around it. And we can tell it's a sentence circle because it doesn't really have any letters on it. Plus, it's broken in an impossible way for a word circle here. So this start marker is on our sentence circle, and then this divot with a period on it is also on our sentence circle. And we start on a new sentence here at our next word. We have another I, line going inwards, a T, shallow divot, no mods, so it, I, line going inwards, 3 lines on this shallow divot S, so it is, and then T, and then a horseshoe with 2 lines on it, so H, and then our E centered, because again, lines count here and here where they end. So that's the word the. So it is the, and then we have this big word here, which starts with a P, because it's a full circle with 2 lines ending on it. So P, then an R, shallow divot with 3 dots. I, line going inwards. V, shallow divot with 1 line, and even though these dots are kind of right in between these 2 divots, this one has a line ending on it, and you can't have both dots and lines on the same letter, so that tells us that these 3 dots have to go to this letter, which has no lines ending on it. Yeah, it passes through, but it doesn't end on it, because this is the I line, not anything on this shallow divot. So R-I, V-I, line going inwards, 3 dots on the L, E centered, G horseshoe 1 line, E, so that's privilege, O internal, F 1, 2, 3 lines done very similarly to my other F, and then we have this full circle with 3 dots with it, so that's L, E centered, and then we have 3 lines on this shallow divot, so that's an S. And we can make a double letter by making a double line. See how there's this line here and this line here? That's a double line, so that's a double S, E, and then R, so lesser, 1, 2, 3 lines on the M, E centered, and 1 line. And then we've done these words a little bit different because I kind of started needing to use my space a little more to get the same amount of words into that smaller circle for the wrist, so I made them wrap around our main idea, which is the word fire. And you go outer to inner in this case, so there's a shallow divot with 1 vowel on it, so that's a T-O, and then a space, 1, 2, 3 dots on the L, I, line going inwards, G, 1 line, H, 2 lines, T, space, T, H, 2 lines, and then the E, so that's T-H-E, and then this word here is an F, 1, 2, 3 lines, L, 3 dots, A, outside our word circle, 3 lines on the M, and then there's our E at the end. So that is that design. Altogether, it is great men are forged in fire, period. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame. And that is your design. Hope you like it. Thanks. Bye.